right, questions for Kristoff? All right, right here in front.
I understand you're quite the dancer. Did you really win an Irish dance competition?
It was the halftime of the Women's Patriot League Championship game. Went out on the court, and I took Irish dancing when I was a little bit younger, second, third grade, and that training kind of came back and was put to fruition. I got my dad like a jacket for it, so I told him, I said, hey, here's the ROI for the Irish dancing classes, and I was a dance minor at Holy Cross. Took classes my senior and my fifth year, to be able to stay there the extra year. So, good investment down the line.
How much is the dance stuff a love? How much of it is it something that you've embraced because it helps you in football? How does it help you in football?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of everything. There's a lot of stretching. When you're doing ballet, the warm ups and whatnot, it's good for ankle mobility, and it's it's a lot of fun. You got to diversify your resume somehow, and obviously it's good for footwork. Being light on your feet and whatnot. So it was a pretty cool experience. I was very grateful for it.
You go to Rod in the second row.
Krista, I think you were Coach Belichick's first portal commitment. What was that process like, and then what was unique about the conversations and individual meetings with him after that?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal. I had a good relationship with his daughter Amanda Belichick, who was the women's lacrosse coach at Holy Cross, and kind of getting connected through that. And the process happened pretty quickly from kind of the first conversation to getting here on the visit, and it's. It was like a dream, to be able to play at this type of institution at this level for, not just Coach Belichick, but Coach Friend and, all the coaches on this staff. It's pretty surreal. And, I wake up every day extremely grateful for the opportunity that I have here. And, I know others share the same sentiment.
Adam on the front row over here, then we'll come here.
Kristoff, hey, Adam Smith, Inside Carolina. Just want to ask how well have you gotten to know Gio Lopez like? What is that working relationship like? And what is your view of the quarterback position in general with this team? How is that shaping up?
Yeah, well, Gio's a great competitor, and obviously, he had a great career at South Alabama. He's a pretty good golfer, very good club head speed. But just like everything, everything's a competition. Day in, day out. So. Everyone's really just focused, taking it one day at a time. No one's really viewing anything as, starter or not starter, or, whatever that is. Guys were brought in here to compete, and, the message has been sent that, you're going to earn everything, every day. So you got to come with your A game, and, iron sharpens iron. So, it's good to be in this, position where you have, so many great players in the quarterback room and really all the rooms in general where, guys are just going to be pushing each other every day. Just violent with the hips. He can hits it very hard. It was very impressive. We're at Top Golf last Saturday, and we're having a long drive competition.
Kristoff, coming from a smaller school on the FCS level to here school on the Power 4 level, what was the area where you saw the biggest sort of jump in just the things that were available to you, the things that you could do here coming to Carolina?
Yeah, obviously the resources that we have here at North Carolina are pretty tremendous, from the facilities to the academic support, and obviously having a graduate school here. So the resources were a huge advantage, and just being able to have that at your disposal, being able to come in here pretty much whenever was a huge advantage. At the end of the day, football's football. That's just kind of really how it is. Obviously, the level of athletes that are here are pretty impressive. But we was able to play with a lot of really good players at Holy Cross. My buddy just got drafted this year, and whatnot. So overall the resources is probably the big thing. But what we have here and what we're building right now, kind of building that foundation day by day, brick by brick. It's it's truly special, and excited to be a part of it.
Go to Brian a second.
Brian Murphy with WRL. You mentioned the connection to Belichick's daughter. Was the connection to Carolina or the connection to him? Like, how did you get involved in that recruiting process? And when you found out he was taking this job, did you get a call into him, or were you already looking at trying to get to Carolina or a different P4 schools?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you kind of go in the portal, you mark out, what type of schools you're interested in. And, as you kind of go through the process, your vision becomes more clear. And, Carolina kind of fit all the bill. And obviously with Coach Belichick coming here, the pedigree that he brings, the greatest coach of all time, undisputed. It's pretty remarkable. And I had Amanda Belichick reach out to me and kind of get me connected here, and then from there go through that process, get evaluated, and it was a perfect fit, and you're here now, and it's pretty great.
You mentioned Grace Chris all the time. Is it intimidating that there was 18-year-olds in that room, 22-year-olds who've witnessed his whole career at the Patriots and seen all the Super Bowls, I'm sure, and now that guy's your coach? Is it somewhat intimidating, or what's that?
I mean, maybe at first when you see him, it's, all you see is the Super Bowls that he's won. But, when you get here and you see the way that he cares, you see the way that he approaches the game, you see how hard he works. There's no question why he has the success that he has. And, the attention to detail, the emphasis on fundamentals, and, really just kind of creating competition for the guys. That's what's getting built here. And, guys are embracing it, and he treats everybody with tremendous respect, and it's been great.
There you go. Cliff.
Thanks, Justin. Al Walter from WRAL. Hi, Kristoff. How you doing?
Wonderful.
Just curious. You kind of answered my questions. I'm going to go a different route. What's it been like for you and the players, just kind of seeing all the headlines and the news and the noise from the outside, which might be very different reality from the one you're inside the building? So it's been like going through all that.
Yeah, I mean, outside noise is a part of playing college football. That just comes with the territory. It doesn't really have any effect on us or the day to day. We're really just focused on competing, getting better, and again, just kind of stacking those days. Everything else is just kind of noise, and we're just worried about keeping the main thing.
Jeremiah on the front here.
Yeah, Jeremiah Holloway with Inside Carolina. I wanted to ask you about Will Friend, who's of course coaching the offensive line unit. How would you describe his coaching style, and then also, I guess, the culture he's trying to implement into the offensive line?
Yeah, he's a very intense coach. He's breeding toughness, but the attention to detail that he brings, it's truly remarkable. He's teaching the game in a way that's allowing us to conceptually understand everything that's going on, and on top of that, just the emphasis on the toughness, the effort that that you need to bring day in and day out, and really setting the standard, and kind of understanding the team goes as we go, so we have to be the ones that set the pace. And Coach Friend has coached tremendous amount of NFL talent, and he knows how to do it, and we're very, very fortunate to have him here. He does an awesome job, and actually Coach Corey does an unbelievable job as well, working in that room, and we're truly blessed to have so many great coaches around us, wanting us to get better, and promoting us to be our best.
Second row left here.
Brian Devon of the Daily Terrell. How has acclimating to a new school and environment been, and has it been what you expected?
Yeah, I think the biggest change was, not having a Boston winter, which was pretty nice. So, getting school canceled with about an inch of snow, and then having it be like 70 degrees, a couple of days later was, pretty remarkable. So in that ways, it's been great. But, the guys that we have here are tremendous, and, we're really building something great. And, for everything that North Carolina is, the school and, the history that, the school carries, truly the greatest thing is, about the people. And, that's that's our teammates, that's the support staff, that's the coaches. It's, everyone, is aligned on the same mission, with the same goal. And, everyone's really just committed to, taking it one day at a time, but, giving everything they have.
Kristoff, as I mentioned, a coach, you're coming into an offensive line that returns 3 starters in Banfield, Lasky, and Green. It seemed like you were doing a lot of snaps with the ones during spring practice. What has it been like getting to know those 3 returning guys, and also getting to know a lot of the guys that coaches brought in from the portal and from high school?
Yeah, again, the big thing here is competition. You got to earn everything every day, and guys are going to rotate whatever it is, whatever position. The position versatility, it's a huge thing. Being able to play with play with everyone, play both sides, whatever that is. And, we have such a great room. Everyone's doing such a tremendous job. Blasky being able to, step up, be the leader that he is. Trey, Aiden, everyone's doing, a tremendous job. And, everyone's kind of, gelling together. And, again, it's, the iron sharpens iron. When we're running those bouts, it's tough. It's about the most tired you're ever going to get. But you see the guys to the left, to the right, giving everything they have, and it speaks to kind of the the culture of the whole team, where everyone's pushing each other. Everyone's you're suffering, but it's a good thing. That's that's what ultimately is going to pay off. It's going to pay dividends later in the season, and everyone's embracing it.
Good stuff, Kristoff.
Awesome.
We're going to bring our wide receiver Jordan Shipp now.
Kristoff, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, man.
What's going on? What's going on?
All right, we're going to start on the front row here with Chip.
Yeah, Jordan, just Shipp Alexander from Raleigh. Just what's the biggest difference that you've seen from the way Mac Brown and his staff did things to the new staff and the way they're handling things?
Love Coach Brown. Coach Brown had a great run here. Coach Brown's a great coach. He did great at Texas. He's done great here, great seasons. And nothing to take nothing from Coach Brown at all. Just Coach Belichick comes with kind of like a different attitude. You can kind of tell, the culture's changing and stuff like that. So I would say that's kind of like the biggest difference between the two.
Jeremiah on the front here.
Yeah, Jordan, you had the opportunity to, during the spring, watch Bryce Baker play, things like that. Obviously, him being a young guy, freshman. What stood out to you about his game, the way that he plays, and I guess some of his strengths and traits so far?
I would say the biggest thing that stood out was really his work ethic. We're in the weight room, like this is just stuff off the field. In the weight room, after we lift, me and him were doing core after, extra stuff after, and a lot of the boys joined in too. And so I would say the biggest thing for Bryce that's going to set him apart is the way he works and the way he approaches everything. His preparation is elite. He's always in here watching film, no matter what it is. He's watching NFL tape. He's already started watching TCU and stuff like that, just getting ready. So, just his preparation is definitely like high level. Can't really tell he's a freshman.
We're going to go to the back left, Pat.
Hey, Jordan, Pat Walter from WRAL. Jordan, we've seen so many players transfer out, a lot of players transfer in. So what was it like for you as somebody that was already here, kind of going through that with the new staff, and then what made you want to stay?
It's hard to transfer from a school that you love so much. I've had a lot of friends have came here, a lot of friends have been successful here, and it's also hard to leave the greatest coach of all time. Knowing you're having one of the greatest coaches of all time coming here, it wouldn't have been smart for me to leave, especially when we brought in another great coach, Coach McGee, my position coach. He was at Louisville. He recruited me at Louisville, so I had a good connection with him as well. So it just felt like everything was kind of just falling into place, and it was just something I was like praying on it heavily, and it was just something that I was like, just God, I just felt like I need to stay. He kind of led me to stay in here, so that was the biggest thing.
Andrew on the front here.
What was your on-field learning curve like last year from the beginning of the season? And was there a point where you thought, okay, I think I'm really starting to get this down?
I would really say there's never really a point where you're kind of just like, all right, now it's clicking. It's more just like you just kind of start stacking plays. That's the biggest thing. You don't really want to look too far ahead. You want to get too highs on your highs or too lows on your lows. You just want to worry about what you're doing right at that time. So for me, I feel like my biggest thing was just trying to grow every day. We're going against great athletes. We had Huzzy last year, Marcus Allen, Caleb Cost, like great players, great ball players that I'm able to go against every day. So instead of me looking far ahead into the future, I'm more worried about just growing step by step and day to day. And that's kind of the same approach that Coach Belichick came in with. Just we're going to take it day by day. We're going to be tough, smart, dependable. So that's the biggest thing that I'm working on.
Did you go into it knowing it would be that way, or is that just kind of how it turned out?
No, I feel like it's just something that you kind of learn over time. Coming in as a freshman, it's a lot of things coming at you at one time, especially coming in mid-year. So it's just like some of the stuff that some of the older boys kind of like drilled into us, like J.J. Jones, he took me under his wing, Nate McCullum, guys like that, just reminding me that like you're young, like I got here early, so that spring they're like you're still supposed to be in high school and you're doing the same stuff we're doing. So just take it as a blessing and just keep learning because you have a lot of time.
We're going to Brian on the second row.
Brian from WRL. What's been the biggest surprise of Coach Belichick? What's kind of thrown you, maybe you weren't expecting him to coach like that or be like that or anything like that?
I would say, I feel like Coach has a narrative of being like serious all the time. Coach, he jokes with us, he laughs with us. We'll laugh in meetings. He has like a humorous side to him as well. So I feel like that's the biggest thing the biggest curveball. You're coming into like the first meeting, you're expected to be serious, 100% locked in. He comes in and he introduces himself, and then he busts a joke. That's the second thing he said. So it's just stuff like that, small stuff like that. I don't remember.
We're gonna go to Adam on the front.
Shipp, Adam Smith, Inside Carolina. That's exactly what I was going to ask you about maybe the biggest misconception. Is he funny?
He is. It catches you off guard. You don't really expect it. We'll be like, even if it's like in the meetings, we'll kind of laugh about play. Like there was a play where I tripped during the spring, and I tripped right in front of him, and he was just kind of tripped on air, tripped on nothing. A lot of the boys laughing. It's just something where it's like, something small like that, just something like you get to.
And just real quick, how would you compare and contrast what you think this offense will look like compared to the previous offense of last season? Like, what are the similarities? What are the differences?
That's kind of a hard question. I feel like we're just going to put the ball down to play. No matter what we're doing, we're going to put the ball down to play. We're going to throw it. We're going to run it. We have great receivers. We have great running backs. We've had people transfer in, transfer out. Quarterback situation, we're all 4 or 5 quarterbacks can play. So no matter who plays, plug and play, whatever we do, I feel like we're going to be good regardless. And I know we have, with Coach Belichick, he's going to make sure we're always on our thing. But also with Coach Lombardi, Coach Kitchens, Coach McGee, Coach Friend, that whole offensive staff, they're all working together and also working with us to just start dialing stuff in now. So, I feel like you just can't really, nothing to really expect from us.
Middle here in the back.
Jalen Gilkey, WFY out of Greensboro. So, Jordan, when you officially found out that Coach was coming to Chapel, what was your initial reaction? And did that kind of inject a little bit of life into you? I know you got lofty goals for yourself anyway, but did it kind of make you feel like, okay, my goals were a little bit more attainable than it was my first day here at Chapel?
Yeah, when I got the news, I was with my roommates Alex, Vardy, and I. We were all together, and it was just like that's the greatest coach of all time. He's about to be coaching us. But at the same time, I still feel like you're gonna get in what you put out, no matter what you do, no matter what you're doing. So of course, that coach is gonna lead us in a great way. The program has definitely changed into more of an NFL style program. With the training room, the food, the recovery stuff, the strength and conditioning. Coach Moses is doing a great job. It's tough. It's definitely hard. We just coming from a tough lift, but it's gonna help us in the long run. So I definitely feel like my dreams and goals are definitely attainable. But like I said, I'm more worried about just growing day to day.
Second row here.
Brian Dalton, Target Illustrated. Last season, you guys had 3 different quarterbacks starting, all different playing styles. How did those changes last year help you in this offseason with all the possibilities at quarterback and creating those different relationships with each one and how they play and how you lend yourself to their playing style?
Really, I feel like all 3 quarterbacks last year could ball. Connor was a ball player, Jacoby was a ball player, Max was a ball player. So it's really, I don't really feel like, and I was blessed enough to have a great relationship with all of them. We all throwing sessions, we all was getting reps with everybody. There was no 1s, 2s, or 3s, nothing like that. Everybody was getting reps with everybody because everybody could play. So you never knew what was going to happen. So, of course, what happened to Max was unfortunate. What happened to Connor was unfortunate. And Jacoby was a great player. He helped us out in many ways. Connor helped us out in many ways. And even with Max hurt, he still helped us out in plenty of ways too, So I feel like it's just take it for what it's for. And build relationships with everybody, get reps with everybody, because you just never know what can happen at any given time.
And the last one for Jeremiah here.
Yeah, Jordan, one guy I wanted to ask you about going off of that is, Gio Lopez, who, of course, came later. How much, I guess, have you got to interact with him so far? And just, what do you know about, not only him, but maybe, some of his game, too? What do you know about Gio so far?
I've been able to build a great relationship with Gio in a short amount of time. We've hung out plenty of times outside of ball, just going to get something to eat, throwing on our own, stuff like that. I was at Topgolf with him, too. We go play basketball and stuff like that, be on the game. We talk a lot outside, and Gio's a great guy outside of ball. I haven't had a rep with him in pads yet, but I still feel like my trust in him is just as high as everybody else. Like I said, we can plug and play any quarterback. All of them are good. All of them can ball. All of them can play. So, I feel good with anybody. But off the field, Gio's a great guy. Comes from a great family. He's from Alabama. The accent's throws it a little bit. But, love Gio. And I'm excited for what he's going to bring to the program.
Good stuff, Jordan. Appreciate it.
Y'all.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, who wants to start us off with that? We'll go Mike here on the front row.
Thad, Michael Coe, WCHL, chapelboro.com. What was it about Coach Steve Belichick and you working with him in Washington that made you want to follow him across the country? Because that's a pretty long road trip for both of y'all to come here to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, it's pretty far for sure. Mainly just how comfortable I am with him and playing in his defense. Coach Steve, he runs a real good defense, and it really puts his players in the best position to make plays. So, just being in a defense I already had success in, I mean, it was an easy move.
Is there like a trademark of a Steve Belichick defense that you can tell us about?
Physicality.
Let's go to Jeremiah on the front.
Yeah, Jeremiah Holloway with Inside Carolina. Of course, when Bill was in here, he was saying you had a really good spring and cited your leadership, things like that. How would you kind of assess your spring and just like also to follow up on that? He was saying you felt like you can play pretty much any position in the secondary. So just your thoughts, your performance in the spring, and also where you fit in on this team.
Yeah, I feel like my performance in the spring was good. Obviously not up to my standard, but, to everybody else's standard. I mean, I feel like I did decent. I tried to come in and assert myself as a leader, really just taking the next step in the leadership role and trying to bring all the guys around me with me. So, I feel like I performed really good in the spring, but I feel like I got a lot of stuff to work on, and it's a lot more that I can add to my game.
Brian on the second row.
Brian with WRL. How well did you get to know Bill Belichick at all last year at Washington? I know he was around the program, but did he interact with players, and did you get to know him at all over there?
I had a couple conversations with him. He wasn't really as involved as he is here, obviously, because he wasn't a coach. But, I shared a couple conversations with him, and got a couple gems from him going into some big games.
And did that make an impact on your decision to come here?
I mean, him as a coach himself had a bigger impact than the stuff he told me last year. I really just wanted the opportunity, to learn, from somebody like that did it in the league for so long. I mean, just the opportunity to learn is bigger than anything.
We got a second row right next to him.
Brian, going to the Delatario, in your environment, your team, what kind of goals do you have for yourself this season?
Goals for myself? Man, honestly, I just want to win football games. Just go 1-0 every day, attack the day, get better every day, and I feel like my personal goals ain't as good as the team goals. So honestly, I just want to win games.
Adam on the front row.
Thad, Adam Smith, Inside Carolina, is a guy who played in the college football playoff, who played in the national championship game. Is a guy who has seen a lot of success. What is your opinion of how this defense is being built, the pieces? Yeah. How good can you be, and how much work still needs to be done?
Obviously, we have a lot of work to still put in. I feel like, but the way this defense is trending, man, I mean, it's gonna be special. The main thing about us is just our relationship. We growing off the field. I feel like the best football teams on the field are the closest off, man. I just feel like, man, the dudes on the defense, we've been meshing and molding real good. So, we're gonna be in for a good one.
Smiling about it. Like, who are the playmakers on this defense, would you say? Who would you pick out?
Everybody. All 11 that go out there, playmakers, straight playmakers.
Andrew on the front here.
You mentioned something a few minutes ago about leadership. Does the fact that you played in a national title game and had that clout coming from Washington, did that help you establish leadership early here? And what is your level of leadership at this point?
I mean, obviously, I played a lot of snaps, so, we got a lot of young guys. They obviously, they look up to me, a lot of young guys in the room. But I feel like what I did when I got here really established my leadership. I wanted to come in and, assert myself as one of the more dominant players. So what I did when I got here, I feel like was more important than what I did before, because it don't matter what you do the year before. It's all about what people see and your first impression when you get here.
You mentioned your standard. I think maybe you have a very high standard for yourself. You
Yes,
just
sir.
down. How good can you be? What kind of player are you, will Carolina fans say?
Man, you just going to have to tune in and watch. I'm be one of the best in the country, though.
You guys landed Andrew Simpson. It's a linebacker out of Boise State late kind of in this class. What have you seen out of him? I'm sure you saw him on tape last year as well.
Yeah, so I actually grew up with Andrew Simpson. We grew up like 2 miles away from each other. So, this is a full circle moment, to be sharing the field and sharing the jersey with him, man. It's honestly a blessing, full circle for sure. But Andrew's a very good player. He's going to come in. He's going to make a lot of good plays for us. Obviously, he's going to have to come in and compete. But, it's nothing that you can throw at him that he's not going to be ready for. I mean, I feel like he's going to be a good player for us.
You guys play high school ball together, or where?
Nah, we played against each other, but we had played 7-on-7 together and youth football together.
You go to the back.
Jalen, good getting from my news too. I know you're a West Coast guy.
Yeah, yes, sir.
What's been the biggest difference coming over to Carolina? 'Cause I know it's quite a bit of a culture shock.
Yeah, it's been a culture shock. Probably, I'll say, man, the trees. There's a lot of trees out here, bro. Every time I leave the house, it's a lot of trees. The food been good. You know, the people are real nice, but yeah, probably just, like the weather and just being around nature a lot more. I've been going fishing. Some of my teammates took me fishing and some stuff I never done before. So, it just be little stuff like that. It's just different, but you learn to enjoy it.
You go to Rod on the second row.
That Rod Baxley, Fayetteville Observer. What did you guys make of the no jersey numbers, no jersey names in the spring and throughout practice?
Yeah. Honestly, we didn't really think too much of it. I mean, the jersey number don't really define who you are as a player, so it's either you can play or you can't. Just because you in jersey number 2 or jersey number 1, that don't make you better than somebody in jersey number 47. So, honestly, it just gave everybody a clean slate and, just a free opportunity to just cut everything loose and just go compete, man, and just, leave it all out there during the spring.
Anything else for that? All right, good stuff, Thad. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
We're going to bring our defense back, Will Hardy, to close us out.
Thanks, Thad.
Hey, Thad, did you catch anything?
Yeah, I did. I caught a catfish, man. I thought I had a shark I'm reeling it in. I threw it back in.
Well. I'm glad to see it.
That is, it don't matter. Whatever it is for y'all.
Congratulations. That's fewer letters. It's fewer letters than 10.
Yeah, real talk. I appreciate y'all, man.
All right, who wants to start us off with Will? Chip, go ahead.
Shipp Alexander from Raleigh, News and Observer. Just, can you just, I guess, easily describe what the biggest changes have been from the Mac Brown staff?
Yeah, there's been a lot of
new staff. Just
for
how
sure.
they handle it.
Yeah, there's been a lot of new. There's been a lot of good here. I've been a part of some great programs with Coach Brown and been fortunate enough to be part of those staffs and those teams. We've had success. Belichick's brought some new stuff. A culture that's new and sort of uplifted, and just a mindset that attacks the day every single day. Obviously, that brings new coaches too. So, new position coach for me, new defense coordinator, so new schemes, which is always fun to learn and play in. So, there's been a lot of good with Coach Belichick.
Jeremiah on the front here.
Yeah, Will, I'm kind of curious, how has it been for you personally getting to know all these new guys that have been coming in as someone who, has been around for a while? What's been that process of, establishing, all these new relationships with these new guys?
Yeah, it's been exciting. It's been exciting. As a leader on the team and an older guy that's been here for a while, there were a lot of new guys in the spring and a lot of new guys now in the summer with freshmen and transfers. It's just been exciting to learn new people, meet new people, take on a new challenge of leading guys on the team, and just creating that team chemistry. This is an important part this summer for us, just building that team chemistry, getting ready for fall camp. So it's exciting.
Go to Michael here.
Will, when Coach Brown left, you would have been well within your rights to explore your options in the transfer portal, but obviously you came back and you're still here. What was it about Coach Belichick's pitch to you that worked on you, and what brought you back here?
For sure, yeah. There's a lot of things Coach Belichick doesn't need to say personally to me that just shows the success he's had, the players he's coached in the NFL. So initially seeing that was amazing. That's an easy sell to me. And then once I got to meet, talk to him personally, but meet some of the coaches that he was going to bring in, it was pretty simple for me to stay here. I just recently graduated from here, so there's power in staying in one place and being loyal to one place. And I wanted to represent that Carolina Blue for my whole career.
Andrew on the front here.
A couple of the guys have said that Coach Belichick's a little different. Every once in a while he'll drop a joke or say something kind of funny. What did you expect him to be like, and at what point did you realize, okay, he may be a legend, but he's a football coach. He's the kind of guy I've been around for years.
Yeah, I've loved getting to meet the actual person side of Coach Belichick. When it's serious, he's serious, but there are times, like you said, when he'll just crack a joke out of nowhere, and just him being kind of monotone sometimes will make those jokes so funny. But I've loved having one-on-one conversations with him. It's cool to see sort of and meet him personally, because you grow up seeing him on TV and everything, and he's just a completely different coach and guy when you get to be around him all day. So it's cool.
Has everybody that you know back home, has every one of them at some point asked you, what's he like?
There's a lot of that. Yeah, you get a lot of how is Coach Belichick? What's new? What's different? So I've rehearsed these questions a lot with family and friends. But it's all good stuff. So
We're gonna go to Adam on the front.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot with this question. You're obviously super tight with Bo Atkinson. How difficult, from your vantage point, how difficult of a decision was that for him to get in the portal? Did you try to talk him out of it? It seemed like it was kind of a big deal for this fan base that he left. Can you just tell us about sort of that dynamic?
Yeah, I don't want to speak personally for Bo, but he made the decision that he thought he needed to make for himself. He's missed here. He's a great player, great friend of mine, and I wish him the best of luck. But Bo's a great guy, and he's going to do great wherever he's at.
Go to Brian on the second row.
Yeah, well, you mentioned, we've heard about the joking side of Belichick. Have you seen that serious side, that side that you thought you might be getting when he was hired? And when he gets serious, what is he mostly serious about?
Yeah, it's the little things. I've really enjoyed just when we're a full team in the meeting room and he's pointing out different stuff about to the O-line or to the D-line. Like, as me as a DB, it's important to learn all of football to understand how it all connects, and so I've enjoyed that. But you'll get called out in front of the whole team, and man, you got to just say yes, sir, right? There's no hiding in that respect. So it's just been great. It's cool. I also love the way he coaches you one-on-one during practice. He'll pull me off to the side and just give me a little nibbit here and there, and it's cool to see how he knows the full game in every single detail. So.
Go right beside him, second row. Yeah.
Brian O'Connor with Daily Toro. You talked a little bit about kind of the differences in defensive scheme. Can you elaborate on kind of the differences in those schemes between last year and going into this year?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into scheme, but there's just Coach Belichick, Steve Belichick, and head coach Belichick, along with my position coach Brian Belichick, just allowing the safety specifically to play with freedom, just allow the guys to go out there and make different checks for themselves, and so it gives you a lot of responsibility as a DB and as a safety, but a lot of freedom too. So I've enjoyed that aspect.
You're getting triple Belichick.
Yes.
Anything else for Will? Yep. Right here.
Will, what were the emotions in December leading up to all this stuff, and then when it finally happened, what do you remember about that first meeting with Belichick?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of unknown, right? When you're preparing for a bowl game, don't know who your coach is going to be the next year. There's just a lot of unknown. But personally for me, I put my faith in the Lord, and so I knew everything was going to work out. And then you see, we hired the greatest coach of all time, and there's not much better you could get there. And so it was, it went from unknown to very exciting in a quick time. And then that first meeting with him was cool. It was exciting. Looking forward to hearing what he had to say. And the whole team was dialed in for that meeting. I'll tell you, no one was talking during that meeting, so we were all listening.
Andrew here on the front.
So you graduated in 3 years. How heavy a load did you take during the season in order to be able to graduate in 3 years?
Yeah, not as heavy as you may think. I took basically whatever everyone else took in the season, and then us being here in the summer, it allows you to take almost a semester's worth in the summer, and came in with some credits from high school. But yeah, I was fortunate enough to graduate. It's always awesome, and it's great to be an alumni from the University of Chapel Hill. It's awesome.
Michael here.
Will, you mentioned all the unknown that was going on in December with Coach Kitchens being the interim head coach. I know he's on the opposite side of the ball from you, but how cool was it for the team that he is still on staff to have that bridge from the last tenure to this one?
Yeah, I think it's important to keep some continuity in any program. We've got a bunch of different staff that are currently here, whether that's the training or the nutrition. So it's great for the guys that are currently here, and just to keep that culture. So I'm really excited that Coach Kitchens is back with us.
And then Jeremiah.
Will, how would you compare the off-season program from the Mac regime now to the Belichick regime? It seems like there's a huge emphasis on you guys in training and stuff like that. What does it look like with the two different head coaches?
Yeah, I've been a part of great programs, and the training staff we had last year was amazing. And with Moses too, we've been working hard. I just finished squatting a lot, and so had to rush over here and do this, which is awesome. But man, we work, and it's exciting to see. We run a lot with Moses, so he says we're going to be the most conditioned team And I believe it because we run all day, and it's awesome.
Is it structured differently?
Not necessarily. At the end of the day, the work's the work, and you got to get it done. But yeah.
And Jeremiah. Yeah.
Will, I know you talked a little bit about the defense as a whole. I wanted to ask you specifically about Steve Belichick. I know Thad was talking about him not so long ago. How would you describe like his style as a coach and just like what specifically he kind of tries to instill in you guys? Just what is he like as a defensive coach?
Yeah, he's a great coach. I think the dynamic between him and his brother Brian Belichick, who's my safeties coach, is really cool and fun. They both sort of lead in their own way, but they give you freedom. I think that's the best thing. They want the best players to play, and they'll fit the scheme around the players. So they're not going to, try to put people where they shouldn't be. They've been around the game a long time to know that when you put the best players out there and you kind of cater to them, that you'll have the most success.
Good stuff. Well, thanks so much for coming, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.